Broadcast, да.
Виждам, че бързо се включват хората тук. Мисля, че няма да има отново нужда от това да те представям. Нека да изчакаме просто още една минута. Ти имаш достатъчно време да си направиш презентацията и след това въпроси и отговори. Но ето виждам, че вече надминаха 100 участника. Тук предлагам ти да започнеш след малко, лека по лека.
Здравейте отново. За тези, с които не се видяхме на предната среща, аз се казвам Мирела Койва и съм представител на университета от Тилбург. Когато стигнем накрая отново до въпроси и отговори, пак ще ви говоря на български, но самата презентация ще изнеса на английски в този случай, защото има доста термини, които не могат да бъдат преведени лесно. Каквито и въпроси да имате, абсолютно няма никакъв проблем. Била съм на ваше място, знам колко объркващо и сложно може да е, колко трудно може да се направи избор. Така че просто докато говоря, ако ви изкочи някакъв въпрос, слагате го в чата и на края на презентацията, което предполагам ще е след около 25 до 30 минути, аз ще прегледам чата и ще отговоря на всички въпроси. Така. So welcome once again to this presentation specifically about studying in the Netherlands at Tilburg University. These are the topics I'm going to be covering today. Some of them I will cover a little bit more shortly because I presume most of you already heard about some of them in the previous presentation, so there's no need to give overlapping information. For instance, this slide, why study in the Netherlands, you already saw as a full-blown presentation a few minutes ago, most of you, but the key points were once again that whichever university you choose in this country, it's going to be one of the top 250 universities in the world, making it the top 2% of education. The programs at the universities are English taught, so you have a wide range of options that you can always use. And the value for money, especially for EU students, is great, especially when compared to other English taught programs, such as the ones in the UK or the US or even Australia. Then just to briefly go over this again, because this is quite a big difference between the different education systems, I mean the one in Bulgaria and the one in the Netherlands, is that here we have two types of universities. Research universities like Tilburg University, but we also have universities of applied sciences. So research universities are essentially offer traditional academic education. They focus on studying theories. They let you learn how to write papers. Afterwards, you can continue immediately to a master. You can do a PhD, things like that. And their duration is 3 years. Universities of applied sciences, the duration of the education is 4 years, and the focus is on professional practice. And also there, the internship is something that is absolutely mandatory, whereas at research universities, the internship is something you can choose to do, but you can also choose to go abroad or do a minor. So it's a little bit more tailored to the student. Some topics, some subjects like nursing can only be studied at universities of applied sciences, while others like liberal arts and sciences can only be studied at research universities. However, some can be studied in both. For instance, human resource studies is a program that can be studied in both types of university. So when you make that decision, then it's really up to what you would prefer and what your plans for the future are. Now, Tilburg University is located in the city of Tilburg. This is the 7th largest city in the Netherlands, and it's at the south of the country, which was quite beneficial last summer when the temperatures here got a lot higher, a lot more quickly than in Amsterdam or Rotterdam. But even so, the Netherlands is not a large country, it's pretty small. So Tilburg is very close still to Amsterdam and Eindhoven. For instance, it's a 30-minute train ride to Eindhoven and an hour and a half to Amsterdam airport, about an hour to the Amsterdam center. Otherwise, Tilburg is also conveniently located for travel when times are safe and travel is possible. Here you can see some of the major cities you can easily visit because there are a lot of train and plane connections to be had, especially because Tilburg is so close to Eindhoven and there's a lot of cheap Wizz Air flights often. The city itself has about 200,000 inhabitants. That does not seem like a lot. What I usually like to say is that the city is about as big as Sliven, but with about the number of people that are living in Burgas, more or less. In terms of a Dutch city, it's a pretty standard size. Even the largest city in the Netherlands doesn't reach 1 million inhabitants. So nothing too shocking about the number of inhabitants. What's interesting is that it's actually a student city because out of all those people, 28,000 are students. So 1 in 7 people in the city is a student. And that's because outside of Tilburg University, there is a University of Applied Sciences in the city and also a music academy. Now, with regards to Tilburg University and COVID-19, essentially, this is the case for all Dutch universities, but we do follow the guidelines given by the ministry. So anytime they give a new press conference and change the rules, we also have to abide by that. Currently, the situation is such that classes under 75 people take place on campus. Everything over 75 people is held online. But students still have access to the library or the individual study spaces on the university campus, so it's not like the campus is closed. The university itself is now almost 100 years old. It was established in 1927 as a business school. It has obviously grown since then and now encompasses 6 different schools, all in one campus. And I'd like to point out that actually all of the photos here are from our campus. Having a campus in this case means that all of the buildings are located next to one another, and it's not in different parts of the city, but they're like literally 10 minutes walk apart from one another. The university is a mid-sized university. You can see the amount of students and the amount of nationalities we currently have, and we have quite a bit of English taught programs that I will introduce in a few minutes. Here are some of the reasons our students have given for choosing Tilburg University. Some really like our strong focus on global issues, because as a student, you will have at least one philosophy class with the idea that we want to educate responsible people who understand the moral and ethical implications of their choices later on in business, in law, in science. The Green Campus is also quite convenient. Because it means you're not really traveling throughout the city, and it also means that you have access to a lot of cafeterias, cafes, and study spaces, and also just places to hang out. Some people choose Tilburg University because even in terms of ranking, the fields we specialize in, so business, economics, psychology, and law, we have very high rankings there, and you'll see that in a bit. Then additionally, there are lots of opportunities for extracurriculars. I mentioned that in the previous presentation, but you are not going to be expected to just be buried in your books and not have a personal life. There are student associations run by students that are primarily for partying and travel. There's also study associations, which are connected to each study we have. So each program has its own association. It's run by students of that program. And yes, they do have parties and trips, but they also have things like networking events, exam prep, a buddy system for new students so that they make friends easily. We also have a sports center. There's also the Model UN Association. So a lot of things. There's also a gaming association in Tilburg. Then we also offer student counseling and support. You have academic counselors who you can turn to if, for instance, you're not sure what you want to do, what master you want to take, what minor you want to take. If you're having personal issues that are affecting your studies, they are the ones to go to talk. We also have 3 psychologists on campus that you can always book an appointment with. Additionally, we have a language center. I did take some Dutch there, but some of my friends also took Italian, Russian, Spanish, so there's a lot of options. And the career center might be a bit early for that one, but that's where people are helping you out with your CV and posting new vacancies and having networking events organized on campus or online nowadays. But so the international environment. So we have, actually this is, I have the newest data, but it came in like last week, but now we have actually over 4,000 international students, so it's grown since last year from more than 110 different nationalities. Bulgarians do remain the third most kind of popular nationality behind the German and the Italian students, so a lot of Bulgarians on campus. But overall, whichever program you're in, at least 30% of your students are going, your classmates are going to be internationals, but the number is usually as high as 60 to 80%. And additionally, some of the lecturers are also going to be internationals. So not all of your lecturers will be Dutch. We also have partners in different parts of the world. Some of the more prominent ones you can see here. And this is interesting in your third year, because in your third year, you have what we call a mobility window. That means in the first semester of your third year, you get to choose by yourself what you want to do. Do you want to do an internship? Do you want to go abroad? Do you want to do a minor? The choice is yours. And if you decide to do an internship, these are some of the places you could go. Rankings and accreditations, I already mentioned this. So depending on the specific ranking, we are in different places. But as you can see, business, law, and psychology are our strongest suits. Now, the programs. Bachelor programs. English taught, as I said, multicultural classrooms. Tilburg University prefers an interactive teaching mix. So you will have lectures which are quite static in the sense that you go, you sit down, you take notes. Sometimes the lecturer will ask a question, but usually there's quite a bit of information to cover, so there's not a lot of time for discussion. But aside from that, you have tutorials. And whereas your lectures can be very large, up to 600 people, tutorial groups are purposefully kept to about 20 people, small sizes, to allow for interaction, to allow for people to feel comfortable, to allow for individual attention to your needs. You will have quite a bit of group assignments and assignments that just try to help you develop your skill set, like public speaking, for instance. And also you are going to have the BSA in the first year, binding study advice. This, despite its name, it's not advice, it's very much binding. So essentially what it means is that you have to obtain a certain amount of credits. How do you obtain credits? You pass classes. So you have to pass a certain number of classes during your education in the first year in order to continue on to the second year. If you do not obtain these 42 credits, so if you don't pass enough classes to have these credits, you cannot continue this to the second year of your study program, nor can you study a similar study program in the country in the next 3 years. So that's also why we don't advise people to work during the first year, because passing the BSA is crucial. Now, most people don't have an issue. I passed it on my first try. I don't remember anyone from my bachelor having failed it the first year. So it's not really that scary, but it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. The bachelor programs we have are, for instance, International Business Administration, focusing on the 4 key aspects of business, meaning finance, accounting, management, and marketing. Entrepreneurship and business innovation is again a business program, but it focuses on teaching people how to start their own company or to change an existing one. And economics is very straightforward. It is very much, as you see, micro and macroeconomics. That's it. Cognitive science and artificial intelligence focuses first of all on how humans process information, so a little bit of psychology. And then also it has machine programming, because the idea is you understand how humans process information and then you map that onto a machine to get AI. The data science program is actually a collaboration between us and the University of Eindhoven, and it deals with how to use data generated in the internet by users, by companies for business purposes. Econometrics and operations research is if someone really loves math, because that one creates mathematical models that improve business processes. Our global law program focuses on the interaction between different legal systems and how to deal with that. It can lead to a traditional career as a lawyer, but you have to do some things outside of the program to get there. program itself mainly prepares you for the interaction between different legal systems in the same case. The online culture program deals with digitalization and new trends in that regard, and the theology program deals with the place of Christianity. Our psychology program is the only numerus fixus program, so the only program that has a fixed number of places. It only accepts 600 people a year. But it is quite sought after because some of the majors that you have during it, like clinical, forensic, and economic psychology, can only be found at Tilburg University. Global management of social issues deals with issues such as global warming and other wicked problems where it's a large problem affecting everyone that does not have a clear-cut solution. The International Sociology Bachelor deals with internationalization and its effects on culture and interaction and work. And the Human Resource Studies People Management Bachelor is actually a mix, I would like to say, between the Psychology and International Business Administration program, because it gives you both business classes about how to run a successful business and such, but it also focuses on things like motivation and keeping humans happy and why do people work, why do people stop working, things like that. The University College Tilburg offers the Liberal Arts and Sciences program, which is the closest you can get to the American study model, because in the first year, you do not have a set major. You study 5 programs from 5 different fields, and then from the second year onward, you choose one of 5 specializations. Master programs, I will cover briefly because I presume there's not too many master students, but if I am incorrect, please correct me in the chat and I can go over things additionally. Master programs are usually 1 year, unless you decide to do an extended master's, which is 1.5 years. But if you decide to do a research master's, that's 2 years. And then if you decide to do a double degree, it can go up to 2.5 years even. The ones I will be covering here are all English taught, but I will not be going through them one by one because there are more than 60 of them in total. And if we do that, we will be here all day. So if you are interested in a specific one, just let me know. So in business and management, we have things like finance, strategic management, analytics, and so on. So pretty standard stuff in a lot of regards. We have an economics master's, an econometrics master's, business analytics. Communication digital sciences offers quite a lot of options. And some of them are just tracks, but some of them are just different programs altogether. In law and public administration, a little bit less of them, but we do try to cover mainly business-related and technology-related topics. So from behavioral sciences, you mainly see specializations or continuations of the program you saw before: psychology, human resource studies, sociology. Data science and AI, actually here I will make a slight departure and give a distinction because we have a master's in data science and entrepreneurship and a master's in data science and society. And there is a distinct difference between the two. So data science and entrepreneurship is once again a collaboration between us and Eindhoven University. And to get into this program, you have to have previous coding experience. You have to come from a STEM background. Whereas data science and society is actually made for people who come from, let's say, a psychology background or a law background, but want to deal with data and big data. So for that program, you actually don't need to have previous coding experience. So that's a very big and important difference here. We have a master's in theology as well. After your graduation here for your guys, the 1-year search visa does not matter because you are EU students, you can stay as long as you would like. The interesting statistic for you here might be that usually our graduates find their first job about 3 to 6 months after graduation, but that's usually a statistic for master students because most bachelor students continue on to do a master. Admissions and applications. I am seeing the number of questions, so I will try to get there in time. So don't worry, guys. So you have quite a bit of options of things we accept. And here it's good to let you guys know that we accept the Bulgarian Diplomas за средно образование, with a minimum score of 5. So that means the Bulgarian diploma is accepted from a Bulgarian gymnasium, and you need to have a 5 overall score on the diploma. You can see that also on the website of the university. Additionally, for the tests that we accept the academic IELTS with a minimum score of 6 overall and a 5.5 on all parts. We accept the TOEFL internet-based version for if you have 80 points, and Cambridge C1 Advanced and Cambridge C2 Proficiency are also accepted with grades between A to C. We also have math requirements for some programs. For instance, econometrics and data science, they have the highest math requirements. To get into them, you need to have had maths in your matura. For all other programs of Tilburg University, you simply need to have had maths up to and including the 12th grade. That's it. If you by chance don't answer to our the eligibility conditions, there are ways to become more eligible by doing a foundation year. And that can be either done by completing 1 year in a university in Bulgaria or 1 year at a University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands, or doing the Holland International Studies Center track for 1 year, but that's only for the programs listed here. So it's not for every program we offer. Additionally, master admission requirements. There you will have your bachelor's degree looked at, and it has to be in a relevant field. That's simply because with a 1 year master, you do not have time to learn all the theories. You need to have good backing and knowledge beforehand. We accept the absolutely same test, but you see that there is a slight increase in the scores that you need to obtain for academics and TOEFL. If you will be applying to an economics or a business program, you will also need to provide a GRE or a GMAT specifically. And if you're interested in a research master, which is a 2-year master that prepares people for a PhD, mainly, you don't necessarily have to take a PhD, but it's really what prepares you for that. It's a program that is very specifically focused on academia. But those have slightly higher requirements and they vary per program. So there you'll need to look at each individual program you're interested in. How do you apply? So first of all, register in StudiaLink. As I explained previously, you can register for up to 4 programs. You indicate, for instance, hey, I would like to do the Bachelor in Psychology. Within 48 hours, you'll receive a link to Alvirus, which is our own platform, and that's where you upload your actual documents. Documents you need to upload are always on the program webpage on the university website. So you can always check those out whenever you want. You need to only submit the documents we require of you. There are no hidden tricks in that regard. Be sure to be mindful of the deadlines because things or applications that come after the deadline are not accepted. So May 1st for you guys, if you have an EU passport, April 1st, non-EU passport for our bachelor deadlines, and only psychology because it is a numerus fixus and has a lengthier process of application, has a 15th of January deadline. Our masters, some of them have both a February and a September intake. And you can see here, once again, you have different deadlines depending on the intake and depending on your nationality. The costs are absolutely the same. So as I already told you, if you have an EU nationality, you get the state mandated tuition fee, which is around 2,200 and something euros. And if it's your first year as a bachelor student, that tuition fee gets cut in half, so 50% discount. The estimated monthly cost of living differ per person. The average in Tilburg is about 800 euros, although if I have to speak from personal experience, my own are a little bit less. Your largest expense is definitely going to be accommodation, and here you see a wide range. The 700 euros you see on the upper scale is if you are looking at having your own studio. Studios usually tend to be quite expensive because the costs fall only onto you, whereas the price can go down significantly, down to around 300 euros if you have roommates. Food, drinks, and transportation, 300 per month. That is very much dependent on your lifestyle, honestly. If you cook a lot, it's a lot less than that. But if you order in a bit or you go out to restaurants here are very expensive. So that can drive up costs significantly. Books and readers, also an estimate, to be entirely honest. You don't buy books every month, and I usually just get them from the library or copy them. So that cost can be zero if you are clever enough, in a sense. Then you guys will not need a visa, but a secondhand bicycle is pretty much a must. About 70 euros is the price, but again, can be slightly fluctuating. I always give the people the advice to get like the most plain looking bicycle ever. It just needs to run and have like lights and a bell so you can alert others. Housing, once again, Tilburg universities, like other Dutch universities, does not own its own housing. We have partners with different partnerships with different buildings where we have reserved accommodation, but even for that one, students have to apply on their own. The best advice I can give you, and I really, really mean this one, even if you don't choose Tilburg, that's fine, still follow this advice. Start looking around April or May, because that is the prime time. That's when most people are moving out, also when most of the platforms for registration for reserved accommodation open. So that's the best place to start. You can also, if you are looking on the private market, always contact the Tilburg University Housing Office, and they will help you with contracts and making sure you aren't getting scammed. We were going to be having a Bachelor's Open Day on March 19th, and you can keep track of all of our events from the Tilburg University website. So if you are interested, you can also join that. Thank you very much for your attention so far. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to go to the Q&A part of this. Okay. Could you recommend any good art universities? I'm not really sure, but there is this website, studyfinder.nl, where if you just type in the program you're interested in, it shows you which universities have it. So I'm putting that in the chat. Then, взимат ли се матурите в 10-ти клас при кандидатстване? Така, матурите в 10-ти клас са нещо абсолютно непознато за холандците, тъй като при тях това не се случва. Така че, освен ако нещо не се промени, не, няма да бъдат взимани под предвид. Взима се под предвид накрая оценката, която имате в матурата. Цялостната оценка не на матурата, а цялостната оценка, която имате на дипломата. Ако стига тя да е 5, всичко е наред. В общи линии. Така, надолу. Това е много добър въпрос, че документите се подават до 1 май, но тогава матурите не са готови, даже не са почнали още матурите. Няма абсолютно никакъв проблем. Много, много малко системи имат готови дипломи преди 1 май. Това означава, че всъщност дипломата е единственото нещо, което кандидат-студентите могат да подадат след 1 май. Стига всичко и останали документи да сте подали до 1 май, дипломата може да бъде подадена до началото на август месец някъде. Така че няма никакъв проблем, просто когато се записвате в StudiaLink, индикирате горе-долу по кое време очаквате да имате матура, нали, очаквате да имате резултати от матурата и следователно цялостната си диплома и ги пращате когато дойдат. Няма никакъв проблем в този ред на мисли. Йоанна Кирилова, имаме програма по психология, така че предлагам нашата. Биология, искрено бих погледнала Study Finder. Така, има доста въпроси и малко трудно скровам, извинете ме. Така, подава се академична справка, която се взима от училището. Да, като цяло. Повечето университети и Tilburg включително ще иска академична справка от вас. Отивате при секретарката в училището си и молите за академичната справка, след това я превеждате на английски и се подава. Каква програма бих препоръчала, ако някой иска да стане учител? Ами в този случай зависи къде и на какво ниво учител. Ако искате да е в Холандия, това означава, че не е лоша идея да погледнете университетите в приложни науки, защото те подготвят за учителстване. Иначе, ако искате после да имате опциите и за други университети и други държави, бих препоръчала нещо от рода на педагогика. Има ли време за стаж, ако учите global law? And if yes, what kind? How is global law from international law? So global law essentially means you are most likely going to be part of the law department of a company. So that is slightly different than a traditional law career. Although if you take some Dutch classes and pass the Dutch bar exam, you can become an attorney at practice. You do have the option to have an internship, but once again, it will be within the legal department of a large multinational company. Could you suggest any programs dealing with journalism? So our Art, Media and Society program has some journalism involved in it. Otherwise, Study Finder really. Трябва ли да сте вакцинирани? Не, за момента няма закон, според който за да присъствате на лекции трябва да сте вакцинирани. Разбира се, това може да се промени във всеки момент, така че следете новините от Нидерландия от време на време, но за момента няма такива изисквания за никого. Добре е да сте вакцинирани, защото иначе не може да влезете абсолютно никъде в държавата, освен в университета и в магазина за храна, но не го изискваме от вас. Условията за кандидатстване в Global Law или Liberal Arts and Sciences са да имате диплома с минимално оценка 5 като цяло и ще трябва да подадете мотивационни писма и в двата случая. От кои класове от дипломата в училище се вземат оценките при кандидатстване, матурата вземат ли се предвид? Има ли допълнителен изпит за кандидатстване? Няма никакъв допълнителен изпит за кандидатстване, просто кандидатствате с оценките си и дипломата си. Ще ви помолят за академична справка за всички години, или поне за последните 2 години, но реално единствената оценка, която се гледа е тази, която получите накрая на дипломата си за средно образование. Някаква причина не мога да скролвам в момента. Добре. If you graduated liberal art with major international law, may you apply for a pre-master law and techniques offered also in Tilburg University? If you did a major with law, you might not even need a pre-master, so yes.
Actually, I sent the link to everybody, the link with the possible master programs after taking the major law in international context.
Благодаря, Ивелина. Ивелина е права. По принцип, в повечето програми, ако влезете в страницата им на сайта ни, може да видите какви магистри може да учите, да следвате после. Ако влезете в сайта на самия магистър, може да видите какво може да работите после. С програмата Еразъм могли да уча в друга държава за втората година. Втората година не, третата година, когато имате семестър да си избирате какво да правите, може да отидете в чужбина и да ползвате Еразъм, стига да си изберете правилната държава и да има опция за Еразъм там. Вебинарът ще бъде ли качен някъде? Мисля, че това е въпрос по-скоро за Skylines.
We have answered. Some of the questions are answered, but a little bit below.
Ще ми казваш. Can you enroll for a master in computer science if you graduated the Conch and AI program? Most likely yes, Veliko, but it depends on which university and what ECTSs they ask of you. But it shouldn't be impossible.
So there is a question from Галина. При завършване на профил български език и история в езикова гимназия, какви са изискванията за кандидатстване за Global Law или за Liberal Arts and Science?
Същите за каквото и да друго си завършила в езикова гимназия. Аз идвам от езикова гимназия. Профилът ми беше информатика и история. Просто петица на дипломата за средно образование. Това е.
И да споменем, че е важно да се учи математика до края на 12-ти клас. Това си е основно изискване, което не означава матура по математика.
Да, просто до 12-ти клас да си имали предмета математика.
Да.
What are the requirements for transferring to another program after the first courses? Велико реално не можеш да направиш трансфер. Това, което се случва е, че просто следващата година кандидатстваш все едно за новата програма. И ако случайно програмите са подобни една на друга, академичното бюро на университета може да ти признае предметите, които си взимал и да не трябва да ги взимаш отново. Но все въобще не може просто от първа година някъде да отидеш във втора година в друг университет, не кандидатстваш се едно на ново.
Извинете, момичета, аз може ли само да се включа тук, да потвърдя, че тези вебинари ще бъдат, че се записват и след това ще ги качим и ще ги изпратим на абсолютно всички участници. Също така, тъй като следващата презентация започва след 3 минути и това, което бих помолил е наистина да не продължиме прекалено дълго, за да може да се включат участниците и в другите презентации, но това, което искам да потвърдя е, че ние след завършването на изложението ще изпратим един подробен имейл, в който ще отговорим на повечето от въпросите, които се задават. Изисквания за прием за различните програми, крайни срокове, документите, които са необходими за кандидатстване, тъй като виждам, че доста такива въпроси има. Съответно ще дадем възможност на всеки един да се срещне на по-късен етап с представители на Tilburg University. Мирела самата мисля, че ще идва март месец тук, така че ние ще информираме всички вас за тези възможности, за да можете лично, ако желаете да се видите с нея и тогава да ви отделим малко повече време или тя самата да ви отдели малко повече време и на всички въпроси, които имате. Отново казвам го това, защото следващата презентация започва след 2 минути и много от хората най-вероятно биха искали да видят и другите 2 презентации. Аз сега ви оставям да продължите да отговаряте, но наистина може би още 5 минути, за да дадем възможности на другите хора. Чао от мене. Ирена, благодаря ти много за чудесната работа.
Разбира се, благодаря за поканата. Така, ще да отговоря на различни въпроси, тъй като мен не ми пречи да остана и повече. Но за всеки случай слагам най-отдолу questions@tilburguniversity.edu. Това е имейл адреса, с който можете да се свържете с университета. Общи линии въпросите ви ще дадат или до мен, или до колегите ми най-много. И обикновено гледаме да отговорим в рамките на 3 работни дни. Така че, ако останат въпроси след това, винаги има къде да попитате. Така. Сега дай да отговоря на, може би, няколко по-основни въпроса. Няма нужда да имате препоръки от преподаватели, искаме ви само и мотивационно писмо. Оттам нататък, кога са резултатите от кандидатстването е добър въпрос, който беше добре да поясня. В общи линии, в зависимост от това, кога подадете документите си. Отнема 4 до 6 работни седмици те да бъдат проверени и да ви бъде даден отговор, така че колкото по-рано кандидатствате, толкова по-рано ще получите отговор. Единственото, което мога да кажа е само, че ако кандидатствате около 1 май, когато всички се сетят в последния момент да кандидатстват, може да трябва да чакате до 8 седмици. Аз лично предлагам да се кандидатства възможно най-рано, защото за да може да кандидатствате април-май месец вече да търсите места за живеене, обикновено е добра идея да имате вече някаква идея, нали, дали сте приети или не. Така, оттам нататък, ако оценката по математика е 3, обаче всички други са 5 и 6, ще има ли голямо значение, ако на дипломата пак е 5? Зависи от програмата. Кога свърш за програма с високо изискване по математика, може малко да се озадачат от тази оценка, но като цяло изискването е за 5 на дипломата, а не за 5 по предмета. Оттам нататък Liberal Arts and Sciences програмата, някой видях, че попита горе какви са 5 различни опции, а те са Law, Business, Humanities, Social Sciences and Neurobiology.
And there is a link we sent to all the options, but it was actually the link not only with the different majors, but also from which major, which master programs are related. It's more...
За живота в града не е нужен абсолютно никакъв холандски. Аз този холандски, дето го учих един семестър, не го ползвам. Всичко е на английски и почти навсякъде има някакъв вид self-checkout или опция да се направи онлайн, така че никога не ми се е налагало да говоря на холандски. Така, кога стартира учебната година? Това е много интересен въпрос, защото технически започва на 1 септември, но реално това, което ще видите е, че 1 септември трябва да се пада в първата седмица на академичната ви година. Така че ако 1 септември е понеделник, започвате на 1 септември. Но ако 1 септември е петък, започвате понеделника на съответната седмица. Така че края на август някъде. Ако някой иска да започне самостоятелен бизнес, The Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation Program е програмата, която аз лично бих препоръчала. Да, виждам пак някой пита кога ще научите. След като подадете документите си 4 до 6 седмици по-късно, може да очаквате отговор. Мисля, че за втори път виждам въпроса за социология. По социология обикновено се занимавате с теми от рода на промените в обществото в последните няколко години. Интернационализация, урбанизация, такива неща. Има ли стипендии? Не и на бакалавърско ниво. Понякога на магистърско да, но тъй като самата туиция вече доста е стипендирана от държавата. Ако видяхте, хората, които нямат европейско гражданство, плащат около 8000 на година. Тя просто толкова си струва програмата. Но когато сте европейски студенти, държавата субсидира и се сваля на 2000 и нещо. Така че стипендии не, но винаги може да вземете заем от държавата. Има заем, който е точно за плащане на образование. Така че там бих погледнала гледна точка на финансиране. Изучаване на чужди езици или туризъм, пак слагам тук долу finder.nl, защото не съм сигурна къде има туризъм.
За приложни науки, със сигурност.
Да. Трябва ли повече от един IGSE certificate since I already have done an English IGSE? I'm not sure what the English IGSE certificate is specifically. We only accept the 3 ones, so the IELTS, TOEFL, and the 2 Cambridge versions. And it's important to note that your English certificate has to be no older than 2 years at the time of your application. That email. Някой пита за стипендии, но както казах, като цяло няма много.
До Иван Драганов също са приложни университети в Холандия за дизайн програми. Има много добри такива, но е много труден приема, принципно, ако програмата е на английски език. Но пак можете в Study Finder да ги намерите.
Тя започна собствен бизнес, пак казвам, в Tilburg има програма, която е Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation, която се занимава точно с това. Иначе всеки университет, който се занимава с бизнес, технически може да ви бъде от полза. Каква бакалавърска програма трябва да съм завършил, за да мога да кандидатствам Supply Chain Management, Master's Program? Нещо с икономика или бизнес е най-добре. Но истината е, че един от студентите ми, които учи с мен човешки ресурси бакалавъра, беше приет при положение, че има pre-master или предмагистър. Ако сертификатът е взет юли на 2021, може да се кандидатства с него 2023. Технически ще се кандидатства до май месец 2023, така че още не са минали 2 години, така че да. Мога да получа language waiver за магистър, ако съм учила бакалавър изцяло на английски. Никол, това леко зависи от програмата. Примерно, ако си учила изцяло на английски в Щатите, Англия, Канада, Австралия, Нова Зеландия, със сигурност. Ако си учила в някакъв друг университет, нали, извън тези държави, но пак на английски, Някои програми го позволяват, но някои не го. Зависи от факултета. Какъв е процентът на наети на работа студенти след завършването? Ами, според документацията всички биват наети. Въпросът е след колко време. Стандартно отнема 3 до 6 месеца, но някои хора отнема и 8 до година и половина. Но зависи отново и за това какво сте завършили. Примерно, всички, които са завършили Data Science, доста бързо ги наемат, докато, примерно, New Media, завършите New Media може да им отнеме малко повече време.
На някои програми и магистратури имате много хубава статистика. Точно за това. Доколкото знам, съм виждала на Master of Science Economics и там се вижда. Наистина зависи от програмата. Аз мисля, че обаче трябва да се ориентираме към приключване, за съжаление.
Да, така че благодаря на всички, които участвахте днес. Много се радвах да видя всичките ви въпроси. Ако има още, използвайте имейла. Може би ще се видим месец на живо. И благодаря отново на Skylines за това, че помогнаха така, организираха събитието. Свързаха ни всички днес.
Благодаря на тебе, Мирела. Беше прекрасно да те слушаме на български, на английски.
Следващия път и на холандски.
И на холандски. Да го използваме малко, това холандски. Да. Добре. Всичко хубаво на тебе и на всички останали пожелавам.
Лек уикенд на всички.
Чао, чао.